Coach, what did you see out of your run offense down the stretch of the fourth quarter? I know they were hitting it to Colby and Xavier, but they also got some Mark on the last play. What did you see from that?
Our run offense?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, dominated the end of the game, really. You know, I mean, when it went into overtime, the first run play, you know, I was really hoping that we dented them, because if we did, we were going to run it straight down to the goal line, and took 3 plays, right? So, no, that was what we needed. That's why we went into overtime, right? We felt like we could run it, and we did, and so we just didn't get it down in the red zone a lot during the course of the normal game, which we need to do that a little better.
What was your assessment just after watching the film, just the whole game?
You know, I mean, it was a weird game from the beginning. You know, I felt like we were very flat for whatever reason. Look, and if I knew the reason, I would bottle it and sell it, and you guys would never see me again, right? But I don't know the reason. We had a bad week of practice, we had a good week of practice. We had a really good week of practice, actually. I felt really good about it. I would give them some credit. I think they played very hard. I think their plan was very good. But we had some things there. I mean, it wasn't, you know, and we just didn't play well. We weren't hitting, obviously, and made some crucial mistakes, but ultimately we won the game, we're very fortunate.
That was mentioned a couple times. I think after the UNC game, then again on Saturday, I need to check down more.
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, when you agree with that too, how do you get into direct his focus maybe more towards guys in the flats?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that like every quarterback needs to check it down more, not just Tyler, right? And I think it's a process of learning. And the times he did check it down, you know, I mean, when AJ scored on that beautiful run, the couple plays before that, we threw it to Cam in the flats and he got 15 yards, right? Well, that play wasn't designed to specifically go there. We had levels, and they just dropped and he dumped it down there. You know, we have to do a better job of taking what the defense gives. You get greedy and bad things happen, you know, and I don't think, honestly, the first pick wasn't greed because it was open, you know. It was a much easier throw than the wheel route in North Carolina, you know, and so it was he just underthrew it a bit, you know, and so I don't necessarily think that was like a bad read. I just think that, you know, it just ended up bad because the throw wasn't very good, but he can make that throw all day. But there are times that we get in trouble with not checking it down, and we're doing it more. We are checking it down more, but we need to check it down when we don't have it, you know. But it's hard to take aggressiveness away from a quarterback too, because when you got the shot, you want it. So it's a very fine line. I mean, you know, and ultimately, you know, we both live on that line. Tyler's not on an island in this deal. I mean, it's me and him, right? And so he knows that. I mean, I take as much blame as anybody when bad things happen. And so I have to put him in a better situation. And I have to program it to where it's clear to him. And we will. I'll do a better job of that moving forward. But, you know, he's more than capable. I mean, we know what he's capable of. And so, you know, everybody's going to have a couple bad plays.
And kind of in a similar vein, when it comes to like forcing things in the passing game, obviously Tyler and Xavier Shepard are very, very comfortable. They're very close friends, have been well documented. Have you seen them maybe try to force things to X, or, you know, maybe
there's a few times where that happens, but I mean, that's also a comfort level too, and you don't want to take that away from a quarterback, you know. Are there other places you can go with the ball at times? Yes, but that's worked out a lot too, and so it's easy to point to the times it doesn't work out and say, you know, well, look at this. Well, I can show you 50 other times where it worked out pretty good. So, you know, I mean, it's the critique of bad things is really easy to do in life, you know, and so I kind of view things through a different lens, in the sense of, you know, yeah, we didn't play great, but and people are going to sit there and pick out the throws that we've made that were bad, but I mean, we made some pretty damn good ones in the end that put us in a field goal opportunity that got us into overtime, because the hardest thing to do is when you're not playing well is to keep going out there and trying, you know, and we did not shut down, and our sideline was great. We kept battling for answers, we kept searching for answers, and ultimately we made just enough plays to win the game. I mean, barely, right? And so ultimately we'll learn from the mistakes for sure, but I also am very proud that we had the mental capacity to keep going out because we needed him to make some throws in the end, and he ended up making them.
It looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like the teams that probably going into the games perceiving that they can't match up man for man with you guys athletically are trying to schematically just take away the down the field and kind of make you go sideways.
Yeah, I think there is an element to their plan, being successful. But I also know, because I watched film, that we missed. We could have hit some guys down the field in the middle of the field that could have burst some pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a little bit of both. I think that schematically, our pass game has always thrived against zone defenses. So I don't think that that's one that's like, oh, people are playing zone defense. That's the deal, And so we have to be, focused enough at quarterback to when people are changing coverages, just to stick with your reads. It doesn't really matter what they do. Our progression is our progression, and it's 1, 2, 3, and so.
So is it a matter of more schooling in your system?
I don't know about more schooling. I think it's just mental discipline. It's the and it's also, you got to factor in when you make a bad throw, you got to block out all noise, and you got to block out the doubts that creep into your head. It's just human nature, and so and part of my job is to sit there and calm down on the sideline, calm everybody. Look, man, it ain't the end of the world. We get the ball back, we're going to go out and we're going to put some plays together, and we're going to do our job. And so if people haven't been in that situation, it's a very tough situation, when things aren't going your way. But ultimately, the true test of like character and resiliency is what kind of player are you when those situations come up, And I don't know if I've been many places where we'd have won that game, to be honest with you. Playing as poorly as we did on offense, obviously defense picked us up, special teams was great, and so as far as a team goes, it's a very positive situation that we battled to the end and won it, Now, ultimately, offensively, yeah, we got to do a better job. We got to uphold our part too, which we have been. And so, you're going to have some games here and there that you struggle. That's just the way it is. But we need to do our job.
Sorry, Coach. After Emory's first start against Clemson, how much comfortable are you as a coach in his pushing the ball downfield more and his running more of the offense?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with him pushing the ball down the field. He pushed the ball down the field in that game. And we had 4 or 5 plays in that game where he could have pushed the ball down the field more, and he checked it down. And, every play isn't a push the ball down the field play. There's options on every play. And so, but I feel comfortable with him pushing the ball down the field for sure.
And also, on Jacurri, how is he progressing? We haven't seen him since training camp, I guess.
No, he's progressing well. We made a decision at the beginning of the year to save his year and use him as an emergency quarterback. And so I had him ready last week to play. And if I needed him, I was going to play. But the one thing about me is I'm a ride or die dude now. And so, I'm going to let you work through your problems, and so I'm not a big fan of pulling people early. I like to see you work through your issues, and so, and that's just how I am. And in the Clemson game, I never felt like we were in a situation where Emory was out of control, and I just didn't feel like that. And so, and I felt the same way this week. I know what Tyler can do. And so I trust that he's going to work himself out of it.
So is there anything benefit? I know there's 5 games left, right? And Jacurri can play 4,
Mm-hmm.
so redshirt. If he should get on the field, is there what's the most beneficial thing that could happen out of that for him? Would that not help him being in a game?
What's the question?
Okay, you told me how he's progressing well, okay? And I guess my question is, what is the most beneficial role for him should he get on the field and the last stretch of the season?
Yeah, I think it's beneficial to play for sure, the question really is this, is we chose to burn a kid's year, one kid's year, and we chose to save a kid's year. And so when you choose to burn a kid's year, you have to use that year, and you have to use it to his best ability. And it would have been the same way if it was the other way. And so, I'm trying to, to utilize this year as best I can with the kid's year that I burned. Does that make sense?
He's played 4 games. Has there been any thought at all of?
No. They're both ready to play. Right. Put it that way. And so, and if the situation comes up, then we're ready to pull the trigger.
But has there been any thought at all to giving Emory a red shirt if you don't need him?
We could, like moving forward, we talk about it every game, we definitely could. And so the issue is more so at this point in the year, when you make that decision, one kid's taking all the backup reps, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so you'd have to flip that, and then how efficient offensively are you gonna be with flipping it, and that's a decision really that me and Coach Cristobal would have. Our head coach would obviously make that decision over me. And so, that is a week-to-week conversation with us.
And it probably wouldn't be an issue.
We'll do 2 more for Coach Dawson.
Unless you get towards the end and you haven't needed him in a line of fire, so to speak.
That's right.
The other question I had was along the lines of what you were talking about earlier. This is Tyler's 3rd offensive system in 3 years. And what you do in spring practice and what you do in fall practice changes when you get into games because you're playing a lot of different defenses and people are trying to screw you up, obviously. Is that a factor for him at all?
No. It's not, really you're trying to package things together in a way that, that is best utilized versus the defense you're playing. But most of the time that stuff has been repped through camp. That's part of the process of the day-to-day repping of football through camp. You try to hit on everything that you could possibly run, right? Mm-hmm. Now, is the window dressing might be a little different when you get to the game? Yeah. But we've pretty much repped everything in our offense that could possibly be repped in the game.
So there's a lot of,
We'll wrap up with this question.
You mentioned special teams coming up big. Around the country, there's not everywhere has consistent field goal kicking. Miami does with Borregales. As a play caller, how much of a luxury is it to know he's probably going to be money from any distance?
It's huge because, I don't even look out there when he walks on the field, The kid's just unbelievable. But ultimately, I'm not trying to rely on him either. I want to score a touchdown and win the game. But thank God that we have him to go out there and kick it through when we need him. And we need to score touchdowns. I wasn't sitting there at the end of that game trying to get in field goal range for him to tie the game up. I'm trying to score to win. We just didn't.
And then real quick, I know you gotta get moving, but the offensive line seems to be getting better almost on a week-by-week basis. How have you seen them continue to progress and gel as the season goes on?
Yeah, that group is probably the biggest reason offensively that we're 6-2, right? We've leaned on that group. The luxury here is I have a lot of different areas to go to try to move the ball. And if we need to rely on them, we can rely on them. And that's been awesome. And so those guys have been extremely solid week to week. And the pass protection was excellent. It was everything they do is really on point. Appreciate those guys.